When I woke up in the hospital, I didn't really understand what paralysis, spinal cord injury, any of that meant. It wasn't until I woke up and there was a nurse between my legs and I couldn't feel her. I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Oh, I'm cathing you." And I said, "Why?" "Honey, we gotta drain your bladder." I wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to live. I didn't even know how I was gonna take care of myself. I never thought I'd have a relationship, move out of my parents' basement. I thought my life was over. At 22 years old, I was a passenger on a motorcycle, and I never walked back off of it. A woman made a U-turn in front of us, and he didn't stop in time. He went through the back window, broke his leg. I went over the SUV. I broke my back in 2 places. My chest collapsed, my ribs punctured my lungs, nicked my spinal cord. I have a traumatic brain injury, and I coded twice and had to be resuscitated. For about a month and a half, I would be in the hospital, only to go home for a week and have to be re-hospitalized due to complications of this new life that's called spinal cord injury survival. You go into inpatient rehabilitation and you're lucky to get 3 weeks. You have 3 weeks to learn how to relive your entire life, how to get dressed, go to the bathroom, cook for yourself. Driving wasn't even talked about. When I first got out of the hospital, I worked part-time in a pediatric dental office, but because it's this weird limbo of, well, I can't make over this certain amount, or I lose this extra disability benefit. And if I lose this extra disability benefit, I'm gonna lose all my insurance. I'm losing everything with that. And how am I gonna be able to afford to live if I'm only making $1,400, $1,500 a month?
If you get into an accident and you've been working for a while, you're going to be on something called SSDI, which is Social Security Disability Income. But if you're using your state's Medicaid services in addition to Medicare, the state might set some asset limits for that case. You're going to hit a couple different cliffs where you're making income, you're working 20 hours a week, you're earning $1,500 to $1,600 a month, but at some point you earn $1 too much and your benefits go away.
I lost Medicaid because my Social Security disability payment was too much. When a person with a spinal cord injury gets a urinary tract infection, it presents a lot different than when you're non-disabled. I would have intense leg spasms. I'd pee myself every 15 to 20 minutes. Within my first year, I'd be re-hospitalized twice from the antibiotics of those bladder infections. It's very frustrating because a year in, my catheter supplies got switched. And so these stipulations that are in place really create this cycle of, well, I'm gonna have to stay in poverty just so I'm able to afford my medical supplies.
In Jesi's case, if you need access to Medicaid in your state to cover your healthcare needs, your state might have an additional asset test in place. If we want people with disabilities to break the cycle of poverty, to move into the workforce, to be able to enter into marriages, we need to update the asset limits.
I'm currently on North Carolina Medicaid with a Medicare supplement, but I am on their Workers with Disabilities program, so I do have full-time employment. I just also am able to collect this insurance because I am a contract employee. So because my job doesn't provide insurance, because I work for myself, I'm able to get these benefits and programs. My boyfriend and I have talked about marriage a few times, and we're not going to do it because I would lose my Medicaid. And it would cost us so much money for me to have private insurance, have to pay the deductible on my catheter supplies just so I can go pee, have to pay out of pocket for my bladder spasm medications so I don't pee myself. I would lose so much by getting married. called Freedom, Longevity, and Wellness, and is one of the most fulfilling things I get to do. My other business is called Wheel With Me Adapt Fit. It's a downloadable fitness app in your iOS Google Play Store. It's the first fitness app for wheelchair users by wheelchair users.
I met Jesi through the internet. I was looking for more online resources for spinal cord injury and community support about 4 years ago, getting really involved with the nonprofit. Our friendship just kind of naturally grew, and I guess the easiest way to put it is Jesi changed my life. She taught me how to drive, how to travel independently alone.
The disabled community is the one community that anybody could be added to. It doesn't discriminate on your age, race, gender. Just because we think we're immune to things doesn't mean we are. This could happen to anyone at any time.
I would have to say that, yeah, there was definitely a time where I never thought I was going to be off disability. I thought that I was always going to have to live in government housing, on government income, without being able to get married, with only being able to work 20 hours a week so that I can still make sure I have the right medical insurance. I lived that way until I met Jesi, and it was her being an example for me and like braving the system and like being willing to be like, okay, this is going to be really hard, but on the other side of it, it's going to be worth it to have that freedom and to have that independence and that financial stability that everyone deserves, disabled or not.
And going back to work, it's so much more than joy. It's so much more than money. It's confidence and self-worth. That's what it gives you.